The first thing to do is to remove the 3 screws for the coolant reservoir and push it aside. You get your receptacle for the screws. Oh, the electrical connectors need to be removed at the bottom. One of those tab ones. Do not break the tab like we just did. The next step is to remove the box cover, the airbox cover, and the engine covers. So engine covers, airbox cover, airbox cover, airbox duct, and upper engine covers. One of them is probably taped down there because the guy in the shop broke my engine cover. Don't clip in more.
Yeah, I know it's that one.
Broke. Okay. And we've removed this before.
We removed it on my car many times.
The coolant T-fitting near the reservoir is very fragile and can break easily. Which coolant T-fitting?
I'm guessing this.
Have we broken it already? No. They're helpfully telling us it's available on their website. 7mm socket, unbolt and disconnect and remove the original ignition modules, which are, now expose these guys. With nut.
There's a washer on it.
Was that already loose?
No. Just not very tight. Easier to remove that first.
No, this is easy. Push then. Push, no, push down. There. Pull.
These?
Yeah.
Does it matter which one's which?
We don't use it anymore. These are the things we don't use anymore.
I know, but like...
No, they're both the same.
Okay.
So one each is sort of cylinder bank, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. Touch. All right. Loosen the hose clamp on the end of the mass airflow sensor and disconnect the electrical connector from the sensor. Then release the 4 spring clips holding the airbox lid in place. Remove airbox lid and mass airflow sensor together as one piece. It's just meant to spread apart and pull out. This guy also is like that. There, right? So they just split open. There. Yeah, so now it'll...
Okay.
So disconnect the mass airflow sensor connector. This we have to be careful with. So the trick to removing these connectors is to pull gently on this just a little bit, like this. This tab here needs to be pulled down just a little, and it opens up inside and lets it go. If you push hard on this, this will break. Okay. Keep going. Remove the 4 clips. So we're removing the Airbox clips, which with your fingers, just this car is missing one of them, it appears. It's difficult to see here. Okay. Putting them back on will be fun.
What are you supposed to do with these?
Okay, now you pull the entire assembly out, remove. This will come off from there, and this entire box will lift out with the sensor. Okay, now let's try and twist that hose over there. No? It looks like it's budging. Okay.
Really? Even this hose has been installed and made on the other side.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's all bent in.
I haven't been in there at all. The guy who did our intercooler pump or whatever. Okay, here we go. So loosen both coil covers. So there's one on this side and one on the other side, and then it just comes off. I think this is one of these covers needs surgery later to clear something or the other. Okay, both coil covers are off. So you remove them, raise it slightly, he says, then disconnect. The connector.
Okay, what am I doing?
Okay, to remove the connector, we have to push up from the bottom to the top. So this guy, so it should demonstrate that. Yeah. Go ahead and there. That's how it goes up. And then you pull the cable out. Okay. So what we're attempting to do now is to remove this big intake pipe, at least loosen it enough to move it out of the way. So there are 4 or 5 bolts holding it in place. Let's remove the first. So we're now attempting to remove the coil pack without removing the air pipe, because it seems like there are a lot of things to undo in order to remove the air pipe. So the idea is we took a flat wrench to the flat open end, a flat ring to the screw, and we're working it out. Hopefully there'll be enough clearance to get the coil pack out. So the trick appears to be you just pull it up with, just pry it open with a screwdriver, and there. Instead of trying to get your fingers in, which is hard for this one. you want me to hold that?
You can't move it like far enough. There's not enough this way travel.
Okay. So we did get it out.
It's a lot more clear on this side.
This is okay. So it's apparently a bit clearer on the other side, but this side is quite difficult. So you have to work at it and use whatever give you can get out of this thing after removing the bolt, because we did remove the bolt. It gave us just enough clearance to get that thing out. So not easy. So we're trying to remove that bolt over there, which is under the pipe again. So we're going to try and move this pipe just enough out of the way so that we can get a socket to it. We'll see. So we finally got a universal joint in there, a little, and we were able to get that bolt out. That yes, with a 10mm socket. So now we're installing the adapter plate where the new coil packs will go. You can see the ECS Tuning logo. It's a nicely made part here. And then we're supposed to put in these 5mm Allen bolts, put them in first and then tighten them all. And so that's what we're starting to do here. So of course, once again, the Allen screw just under the air pipe is the difficult one to reach. Fortunately, we have this really small, flat bit driver thing, which is ratcheting, and that seems to be just the right tool for the job here. Hold up the thing to the camera there, once you're done. So this is a Craftsman flat driver. It turns out to be very useful for restricted spaces. So we got the wrong plate on this side first, but now we put the right plate back on. So notice the notches here. These notches, they have to be just so, and this is the right hand side of the car. So right hand side facing the front of the car. And the notches have to be just like that. So onward. Now we're going to remove the spark plugs. So here goes. A really long extension. There we go. And here we have a fairly oily plug, although the tip is dry. So I guess that's a good thing. So we have these new Denso iridium spark plug. So these were the sort of middle grade. They were the OEM NGK ones, and there were some really cheap Denso ones. So I picked the middle one. It's about $9 a pop. If this too lasts 160,000 miles, I don't think I need another set. So we're going to install these now. So here goes. I take off the brown cap, brown cardboard cap that comes on the plug, put it into my trusty plug wrench and carefully insert it into the cavity and have at it. It's kind of oily. I mean, there was some oil on the so as a last step, after I tighten it slightly, I now deploy my trusty torque wrench here. Trusty, cheap. It's set to 18 foot-pounds approximately, which is 25 Newton meters. And I tighten it. Turns out that's actually a fair amount of torque. There. And it clicked. So we're done, and there you have it. We'll repeat the same thing for the other 5 spark plugs. So now we install the coil packs one by one, and they come in bags like this. So take it out of the bag. And push it in. It says with the connector facing backwards towards the rear of the car, and there are little notches that you can match up. And you put this in here and push fairly firmly. Take this connector out of the way here and push, and then it's in place. And that's pretty much it. We have to do that. Got 2, we've got to do it 4 more times. So on the left side, this coil pack, I don't know how they're numbered, but this guy over here turns out to be a bit tricky to put in, because this intake pipe, this fuel line, both get in the way. So it turns out there's just enough give, possibly because we'd loosened this thing, that you can work it under it and push it in. Okay, so you have to be a bit careful about that. So now we're going to install the wiring harness. Both the left and right wiring harnesses are identical. It's basically plugs from the coil packs to the original factory connectors, and we're going to have to bend it in order to connect it. The 3 cables in the harness are of different lengths. The longest one goes from the frontmost connects to the frontmost coil pack and then loops back to connect to the factory connector. So the frontmost connector is this one, and it loops back and connects to this. We have to bend the harness in order to make it fit. Okay, so we're showing how to connect the cable to the factory connector. So there's an adapter on one end. One end goes to the coil pack, the other end goes to the original factory connector. And this turns out to be quite difficult because these tabs here are very thick and don't spread apart just by pushing on it. So you have to spread them apart with a screwdriver and fingers and push it hard. So we're using a screwdriver to push it apart there. So when you succeed finally, after skinning your knuckles and peeling your fingers, it will go in, and then it sits tight there. So now we're about to connect the ground lead, and for that purpose there's a Allen cap screw, as the ECS instructions point out, on either side of this Y thing, and so you can see where it is that we took it out. And there is the cap screw, and we're going to put the ground lead under that.
Hold on. That, I don't know.
Now we reinstall the airbox. We've already done we've reconnected the hose on the top of the Y, and now we're reinserting the airbox, which is of course a bit harder than it looks, because it has to be worked under all that cabling. Notice now that we no longer have the ignition control module, because we have the delete adapter cables, which would just bypass the connectors that go to either end of the ignition control module. The ignition control module is sitting here. So we put the air filter box back on not without some difficulty, because one of the clamps fell out, and then we managed to put it back. And now we're putting the air intake duct back, which is just it just slots in there, and there are 3 screws or 2 screws holding it there. And then we have to put the coolant reservoir screws back on. We've already fired the car up and it does run. A lot of smoke came out, presumably because oil had dripped into the cylinders, and that tapered off. So the coolant reservoir is just sitting there right now. So we have closed everything up. As it happens, all those fancy red coil packed hops are barely visible. So really, you know, if you're going to buy this conversion kit by whatever color you want, it's not going to show, you know, barely if you're here to look for it. And honestly, I'm not that thrilled with these covers. Just now they don't have an anchor point, so they just flop around. They don't have one anchor point. This guy, there's nothing. It used to be on the other cover, which will no longer fit without modification. We have those over there, and I don't feel like cutting holes in that thing, so I'm just going to leave it off. It's fine. So the aesthetic aspect is questionable, although the conversion kit itself seems to work fine. And there it is. We'll fire her up in a moment. Okay, ignition. Starts up. Sounds fine. We've always had that little high-pitched whir. Some bearing probably on the way out, but seems to be fine. We'll take it out for a longer ride, make sure there are no fault codes or anything.